We'll do a review on Likutei Sichas and Chelek Tezbov, volume 15. This is the third Sicha for the Parshas Vayishlach, and it's also a Sicha for Yutas Kislev. And this Sicha, the Rebbe brings down the pasuk in Vayishlach, in where it says Vayivoser Yaakov Levadoi, and he brings down the two commentaries that one Levadoi means that he stayed over for very small things, Lechadoi, or the other interpretation that it was like just Venizgov Levadei by Hashem, which is a very high madrega. How do we reconcile these two perushim in the Levadei? The Rebbe goes on to explaining the whole idea of Yutas Kislev Hafotzes Hamayones Chutzo, and the Rebbe will explain on many different levels. But the bottom line is that when you have the Mayon, you have the Mayon itself go out in Chutzo, so therefore you can actually influence even to the Levada, even to the Pachim Ketanim. It's Davke mitzad the fact that there is this higher level of his galus with Yutas Kislev, etc., that you can actually go down into the lowest, into the least places in which godliness is acceptable, as we'll learn in the Sikha, and we'll go step by step. Vayishlach Gimel Yutas Kislev Aleph. So on the pasuk of a pasuk, after Yaakov transferred the rest of the family, it says Vayivoser Yaakov Levadei, then Yaakov remained alone. So what is the meaning of Levadei? There are several interpretations, and some of them is Aleph, number one. The Gemara says, and Rashi quotes from the Gemara a little bit of a change of a language, that that the reason why he was left over there by himself on the other side was there was small little jugs over there. He stayed for that. That means it was unimportant. It was just small things. And that's why he stayed there. And this is in word levadi. And this is hinted in the word levadi. The Rabbi Seinu Bal HaToisves bringing that up as our Rebbe's, the author of Toisves, the Rabbi Seinu Bal HaToisves, they bring down Al Tikri Levadoi Elo Lechadoi. Don't read it by Vayishlach Yaakov Levadoi, but by Vayishlach Yaakov Lekadoi, that he remained there for the jug. That was the little jugs hinted in this pasuk, as the Gemara said, that he stayed there for minor things. But then we have in Beis, Rebbe says, number two, there is in Medrash state. It states in the Medrash, Ma HaKodesh Baruch Hu Kosobai, just like by HaKodesh Baruch Hu, it's written by Hashem, and he's Gav Hashem Levadei, that Hashem will be exalted all by himself, and by himself. Of Yaakov, Vayivoser Yaakov Levadei. So Yaakov too, he was left Levadei, just by himself, which means a very high madrega for Yaakov. The Rebbe says, well, the two pirushim in the same word should fit, and here it seems just the opposite. On one hand, it's a very unimportant thing, and on the other hand, Levadei means exalted, like it will be in the time when Hashem, Nizgav Hashem Levadei, Bifil Mol Yeret, as spoken many times, from alle pirushim von selben Wort. So all commentaries, if of a selben pasuk, when they come on the same verse, and how much more so when we're talking about the commentaries on the same word, they have a connection in contents. So we need to understand what's the connection between these two commentaries in our case. On the contrary, not only do we not see to be, they don't seem to be connected. It would seem that these are opposite interpretations. According to the Gemara's interpretation, is Yaakov's Iberbleiben Levadei. The reason that Yaakov remained by himself, given Farbundum mit Kitanim, that had to do with small things. Mit Sachen, was haben gehabt, gar wenig Cheshivas, were items that had very little importance. Und azoi wird euch geteicht der Wort Levade, and so we also teach the word Levade, al tikra Levade, al lekade. Don't pronounce it as by himself, but to his jug. He stayed there for a jug. So that's something very small. Dakegun, like the Pirush HaMedrash is, but according to the commentary, the interpretation of the Medrash, Varus Vayivose Yaakov Levade, an inyan for Tachlis Ha'ilui V'Ha'mayla. That's an idea of the total elevation and greatness to by himself. Says Al Derech V'Vinizgav Hashem Levade from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is similar. When we say that Hashem will be exalted all by himself from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's Al Derech says Yaakov's Levade. What is that? That is that inyan for Achdus V'Izgalus Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nizgav Hashem Levade is the union, the oneness, and the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To the extent that it will only be in the future to come. And it's only then, as the pasuk continues. So therefore, and here we're relating it that Yaakov had that similar level of levadei. So how do we reconcile and how do we bring these two opposite, seemingly, interpretations to connect to each other? And the Rebbe is going to go now to explain that the parsha has the shaykhs to Yutas Kislev based on the Shalah, that all the holidays that take place on a certain parsha, the parsha is connected to those holidays, base. So it's known that which the Shalah writes, as alle moyadei hashana, that all the festivals of the year, seinen merumes, they are hinted in the parshis HaTorah was running in length in this manim, in those portions of the Torah which are read in those times of the holidays, in welchem the moyadim seinen chal, in which these holidays come out, they fall on those. So those parsha have a hint to them. Therefore, is verstandig benegeya the moyed to Yutas Kislev. From this, we understand as far as the festival of Yutas Kislev. In many years, it comes out Videmyor, as it's in this year in Shabbos Parshas Vayishlach, the Shabbos in which you read the portion of Vayishlach. So we have to say, according to the Shalom, as der Toich Yutas Kislev is merumes in Parshas Vayishlach, that the idea, the content of what Yutas Kislev is hinted in the portion of Vayishlach. So what's the remez in the portion of Vayishlach for Yutas Kislev? But when those verstehen behagdi will understand it by first introducing the idea. How do we explain why is Chassidus only been revealed in our generation here? There's two main explanations. One explanation is because we are the low level and we need that extra support for the challenges that we have today, which they didn't need in the past. And that would represent a very low level because we're in a low level. Then also the other reasoning is because since we're coming close to Mashiach, so we're getting the taste of what's going to be the secrets of the Torah for Mashiach. So we're getting that reasoning is a very high reasoning. So it's similar to the two interpretations of the Levade over here. One, that it's a very small pachim ketanim, and then the other one is because it's Levade. Let's look inside. So das verstehen bei Hagdim, we'll understand by introducing. Those was Toiras HaChasidus is nisgal geworden, davke in the Toiras HaChronim. This, that the teaching of Chasidus has been revealed specifically in this later generation. Und nicht in the Friedrike Toiras, and not in the previous generation. We know, was Rishonim b'nei Malachim chulu, as the Gemara says that the earlier ones can be compared as sons of angels. Then we're going to be b'nei Adam. So that means to say that they were in a much higher madrega. So how come the previous generations who were in a higher madrega, they did not get Chasidus? And only we. Zainen, Faranz ve'azboris, there are two explanations. Aleph. One explanation is mitzad dem koicheshech koflu mechupel, because of this extra doubled and quadrupled darkness. Was is nistoisev geworden in the Toiras HaAchronim, which has been added in these later generations, ubefrat in Doradik, especially in this particular deal with the generation, which is the Hil of Mashiach, meaning right before Mashiach. So there's an extra darkness that's quadrupled. So we must come on to a higher light due to the descent in the level. We need a higher light that can overcome even this darkness. So we need additional powers, additional tools to battle this darkness. Number two, based the other explanation why we have Chassidus is al derech v'yashtet Kislev Arizal, similar to what it's written in the writings of the Arizal. And it's also brought down in the Mogen Avram and the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. Balasimcha Gula v'hasimcha, whose Yutas Kislev is the day of his redemption and joy. La halacha. So it's brought down in halacha. As Erev Shabbos, darf man versuchen von dem Acholim von Shabbos. That before Shabbos, one needs to taste already the food of Shabbos, as we say in the Pasuk, Toyamel Chaim Zoch, those who taste merit life. As is es euchen the clothes the keteg from Shit al Fishnin. Say when we talk about the general days, the days that the world exists, which is the 6 days, the 6,000 years correspond to 6 days, 6,000 years. As in the letzte Deidos Farbias Mashiach, that in this last generation before Mashiach's coming, them Erev Shabbos from Yom Shekulu Shabbos, when we are the eve of Shabbos, which is the day of all Shabbos. The day of all Shabbos is the 7,000 year. So the end of the 6,000 year, that's called Erev Shabbos. So Vert Nimshach Ha'oreh B'derech Te'ima. So there is a ray in a way of a taste al kol ponim. At least to taste from him gilui from Pnimius HaTorah, from the revelation of the inner Torah, was vet nizgalaver and bishlemusa, which would, in its fullest, be revealed durch Mashiach Tzidkenu. So we get a taste of it now. That's the other explanation. So in so also in this two explanations, you find the two extremes. Similar to like in the interpretation, Yaakov stayed alone, as we said earlier. According to the first explanation, it turns out as the the revelation of the light of Chasidus in the later generations is mitzad zeyer niderikai. This is because of their lowness, because of the fact that we are on a lower level, to lead them because of the great darkness in in these generation. So to against it is required the revelation of the great light of the inner of Torah. As opposed, according to this second explanation, that we're tasting it before Mashiach, is that Gilu Chassidus in the Deiros Achronim, the reason for revelation of Chassidus in this later generation, Farbundum mit Meilas Asman, that is connected the advantage of our time. This is in a level we're already at the eve of Shabbos after midday when we taste the food. We taste the Yishin Damul Du'a Me'ein from the Gilu Delosit. So then we have somewhat of the revelation of the future. So comes out that we have these two extremes in the explanation. The one explanation is that our generation is a lower and a dark generation. That's why we need Chassidus to help us through. And the other one is telling us that we're living right before Mashiach, so we're already getting a taste of Mashiach, a me'ain before it. So now the Rebbe is going to explain why do we need to have these two extremes in order in order to come to the other extreme, to go all the ways to the outside, we need it to come from a high source. The Rebbe is going to explain when we say Yofutzu Mayin Chutza, we're not saying that the Mayonis should impact the Chutza, but we want the Mayon itself to come to Chutza. We need, because it has to come to such a low Chutza, we need to have the Mayon expand to the Chutza. Gimel. The beer in the explanation is says Yeduas Yutas Kislev at Oivgiton, the Haschola from the Iker. It's known Yutas Kislev accomplished the beginning, and of the main, the Yofutsu Mainesecha Chutzu, that the well springs, your well springs, which is Mashiach telling the Baal Shem Tov, that the well springs of the Baal Shem Tov should be spread out to the outside. The Hafotza for Mayonis HaChasidus Salayin. So this Kislev started that spreading out, that the well springs of Chasidus should be spread out to all Yidden. Also to those Yidden who are Chutza, they're outside. So they're outside of this, they too should get the Mayonis. So in Fil Mol Giret, we've already spoken many times, wegen dem Diuk Haloshin, about the specific language, Yofutsu Mayonoisecho Chutzu, that the Mayon should be spread out to the outside. As this means, as the Mayones Alein darfin kumen in Chutza, that these well springs themselves need to come out into the outside. Das heißt, what does it mean that they themselves come out? Nicht nur darfen die Mayones haben eine Wirkung auf den Chutza. Not only do these wells have an impact on the outside, but they alone stay in the place. But they stay in the place, but they impact outside of the place. But Yofutzu Mainesecha means the Mayan itself. But also the well itself, needs to find itself to the outside. That means Yofutzu Mainesecha, the Mayan should go out in Chutza. And not just be in the Chutza, but Yofutzu, to be spread out in the Chutza. The Mayones darfen sich gefinnen in Chutza in an Eufon von Yofutzu. The Mayones should be in the outside in a way of spreading out, sich verspreiten in Chutza, to spread out in the outside. Bis as jeder Prat und Nekuda von Chutza, to the extent that every detail and every point of the outside soll sein durchgenommen durch die Mayones, should be penetrated through the wall springs. So this is the meaning of Yofutzu Mainesecha Chutza. The Mayan itself shall come to the outside. How do we explain this within Torah itself? That the Mayon of Torah, which is the Chasidus, Pnimis HaTorah, itself should be in the Chutza. Since all matters start from Torah, so if we want the Mayon to reach the outside, we have to need the Mayon of Torah to reach the outside of within Torah itself. The Torah is moving as der Inyan from Yofutzu Mainesecha Chutza, but also this idea of your wellspring should scatter, be in the outside. The Hafotze und Gilu von Pnimis HaTorah zu die Iden, welche gefinnen sich in Chutza. That means Yofutzu Mainesecha Chutza, to spread and to reveal the inner part of Torah to the Yidden which find themselves in Chutza. It begins with the fact was the Mayones from Pnimis HaTorah, that the wells of Pnimis HaTorah kumuli de Gilu in Nigla the Torah. They become revealed within the revealed part of Torah. Bis ze werden vereinzigt lachod imamish, until they become one. What does this mean, that we have the inner part of Torah be spread out into the outside, into Nigla the Torah? While the Rebbe explains that there were people that were great in the inner and outer part of Torah, but it didn't connect it together. Alter Rebbe, Yofutzu Mainesecha Chutza, he brought the Pnimius, the Nigla, Pnimius Torah into Nigla the Torah, that you should be able to understand and relate to the Pnimius Torah as you do to Nigla the Torah. Also before the Alter Rebbe, they were great leaders, great scholars in Israel, but they were great in in both sections of the Torah. Sai in Nigla the Torah, whether it's in the revealed part of Torah, and Sai in Nister the Torah, also in the hidden part of Torah. Uposhut, and it's obvious, since they were great, so when they learned also Nister the Torah, that it must have impacted Nigla the Torah. It's Poshut as their limud Nister the Torah, that their study of the hidden part of Torah, it accomplished as their limud for Nigla the Torah is given by Fanachar. That the way they studied the revealed part of Torah was totally different, was on a much more powerful level. From deswegen, but it wasn't that the Mayones were in the Chutza. It was two separate. From deswegen is Bazei given in an Eufen by them. It was in a manner Von zwei besondere Chalokim. It was two separate sections. It was Galia, the revealed, and Sosim did. In them is bestanden der Öftung von dem alten Rebbe. This is what consisted of the novelty of the Alter Rebbe. He combined, he united the two sections of the Torah, made them into one. What does that mean? Exactly, that he made them to one, as we will see later on, that even the parts of Nigla and Chassidus become really one union. But the Rebbe said that this part also takes place within the soul of a Yid, because the Yid connects through Torah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there is the revealed part of the Yid and the inner part of the Yid. This union between the revealed and the inner part of the Yid is accomplished through with the idea of Yofutsu Ma'nesecha with Yutas Kislev. Azoivi Alinyonim Dalet Bibald as Yisrael Miskashron Beiraisa. Since Yid, they connect, they tie to Torah. So, meaning what happens in Torah, the two parts of Torah is also connects by the Yid. Not only that the Yid tied to Torah, Hi Chayenu. That's our life. So it's Torah is mamish part of us. It's our life. When Yisrael ve'iraisa kulachad, we also say from the Zohar that the Yid and the Torah one is move. So from this we understand as kishem v'sis dod that inyan fun yomut futzu ma'nesecha chutza in Torah. Just as we have this idea that the well springs go to the outside is in Torah, we find it, which is that ichud, the union from sosim ve'gali the iraisa of the hidden and revealed parts of Torah. Same thing is within the soul of Yid. Through the revelations of the teaching of Hasidus was accomplished that the idea, the wellspring to go on the outside in the Odom Gufa, in the person himself. That ichud v'nsosim v'galia shebenishmasa, the union of the hidden and the revealed part of the soul. That was accomplished with Yutas Kislev to connect the inner and outer parts of the soul. The sosim v'galia shebenishmasa. Emes takya, let it be true. There was always the hidden and the revealed part, but they were separate. They weren't united. Even before the revelation of the Hasidic teaching, the teaching of Hasidus, the light of Amunah, which is the Sosim, the Neshama, that's considered to be it's not the logic, that's the hidden of the Neshama, the Amunah, which is higher than the intellect. This impacted also the revealed powers that the person has, which means as the that also the intellect and the emotion should be different because of the emunah that the has in his soul. So even the revealed seichel that it had an impact, as we said before, that the people that were learning in both parts of Torah, it had an impact. But yet it wasn't a union. From deswegen is the Muna allein geblieben sosim. It impacted, but the Muna itself remained closed. Unhecher von Seichel Galia is higher than Seichel and revealed. The Alter Rebbe hat aufgetan, what the Alter Rebbe accomplished as the Amuna v'Kabbalah Soil Shalamaylo min HaSeichel, that belief and that accepting of the yoke, which is higher, which is above the intellect. So durchnehmen the mentioning Ganzen, it should encompass and penetrate the person totally. Bis azay gufa zol narop kumen es achet werden mit galya nishmasa, to the extent that they themselves, that higher, the Amunah Kabbalah soil, are come down and they become one with the revealed part of the soul. What does that mean? That in Seichel Gufa soll sich ablegen und erhört werden. That within the intellect itself, it should make sense, and you should be able to sense während die Inyonim Shalamayla Masechel, the ideas that are higher in Seichel. Seichel itself accepts, unites with the ideas that are higher than Seichel. That means the Yefutzum and Seichel within the Amuna and the intellect of the person that they are connecting. And so this is talking about individuals. Each individual person has the Sosim and has the Goli, and the Alter Rebbe, Yutas Kislev, accomplished that connection. But it also connected generally the Jewish people to their leaders. The leaders are called the hidden of the Bnei Yisrael. The hidden are the revealed. And the leaders with the hidden were two separate. It had an impact, but they weren't united with them. After the revelation of Yutas Kislev, Yefutzum and Seichel Chutza, there was a stronger connection there as well. Hey, Kishem, this is by Yeder and Befrat, just as it's by each one individually. As Chasidus, what Oiv Giton, them Yefutzum and Seichel Chutza, that Chasidus accomplished, that the wellspring should go spread out to the outside, which means the person's connections between the Amunah Kabbalah soul with his intellect, his sosim of the neshama, with the gali of the neshama, the ichud. As Chassidus accomplished the Meinesecha Chutza, the ichud from Mayin Shebe Neshama, that union between of the well of the neshama, mitnu Chutza Shebe Neshama, with the outside of the neshama. Likewise, it's by the Jewish people in general as a community. Which all Yidden put together are considered to be like one story, one whole story. So we have an individual as a macrocosm of the general, the Jewish people as a whole. We also have there the Sosim and the Galia. We have the well and we have the reveal part. The Rosh Alfi Yisrael, when we talk about the heads of thousands of Israel, meaning the leaders, they are the level of the head, the brain of the Yidden. They are in a level of a well. Is Amol Fargila Chassidus. So back when, before the revelation of Chassidus, given their Seder. So before it was the revelation of Chassidus, what was the order? As the Gedele Yisrael and given Obgizundet and Zayre Daladamas, that the great leaders, they were separated in their four Amas. They were in their own world. Emes Take, doesn't mean they did have an influence. It is true. As of Gehata Hashpo of Klolus Am Yisrael, they had an influence on the Jewish people in general. Tziduch Torah was learn, and whether it is from the Torah that people would learn from them, or by learning from them good conduct, but it's still, they remain separate. Doch seinen sie allein bechlal given abgeschlossen von Chutza. But they themselves, in a generally speaking, they were locked up and locked away from the outside. They were not in the outside. They were in their 4 cubits. It's nor was there gehata virkug. It's only that they had an impact of Klaus Am Yisrael on Jewish people in general, one of Protib and Israel, not specific individuals of the Jewish people. But they say that ha'avoida from your futzumayne sechel chutza, the order of this service when it started futzumayne sechel chutza, the well springs go to the outside. That oivgiton, that accomplished as the Gedoyle Yisrael zol need zayin obkishlossen in Zayre Daldamas, that the great of Israel should not be locked away in their own 4 cubits. Nor zeya lanes on the Reinkom and Chutza, they themselves should enter into the outside. Un in Chutza zon zeizen ba'oni amam, and in their Chutza, in their outside, they should see the stress, the difficult, the poor of the people, how poor they are. Not talking about physical, but really, when the Gemara says, the sages tell us that real poor is in mind to how poor the people are at the level. und reden miteinander, and they speak with the poor. Of them Loshen in the language, the language and the words that the person understands, that's the chutzah. That's where the Gedol Yisrael comes out. He himself goes to the Ani. Nochmer, and furthermore, bald as the Mayonis, darfen the Griechen jeder Nekuda, prat der chutzah, since these wells need to reach every point and every detail from the outside, is move on. It's understood that this would include not only the spiritual well-being of the Amam, of the people, the Chutzah, but this includes as the Gedolei Yisrael giving sich up, that they devote themselves also with the Inyonim Gashmim from Am Yisrael, with the physical matter of the Jewish people. So the Rebbe basically brought this idea now to the general between the great of the generation, who are the Mayan, and the regular generation. Before that, the Rebbe brought out this idea of Mayan being the inner level of the soul, the Amunah Kabbalah soil, connecting that Ma'anesacha Chutza into the Seichel, into the logic, that you should be able to hear that also in Chutza Ma'anesacha. Before that, the Rebbe talked about the study of Nigla, which is like the outside, and the story of Chassidus, and the Alter Rebbe's Yefutzu Ma'anesacha brought them together. And the Rebbe is going to continue now to say that also in the world, a similarly thing happened. There was a connection between the hidden and the revealed. But Torah is doch the neshama from der Welt. Torah is the soul of the world. The Chazal tells that the Welt is bashafen geworden b'shvil ha-Torah, shenikras reishis, that the reason that the world was created is the Torah bereishis, for the reishis of Torah is the fun verstandig. So from this you understand, as vibald Yutes Kislev hat aufgetan a Chiddush in Torah, since Yutes Kislev accomplished a novelty in Torah, the connection from Sosim and Galia, from Pnimius HaTorah and the revealed part of Torah, hat sich memela aufgetan bedugma solchen Welt. So automatically we have to say it also accomplished similarly in the world, the hidden and the revealed parts of the world. Babir, and the explanation is, as is Yidua, it's known as Mitzad Helem Fun Olam Alein. That because of the Helem, obscurity of the world, you can only reach the godly light which dresses up in world, which would be the name Elikim. To Shem Elikim, Bigematria Ha-Teva. Ha-Teva is the same numerical value as the name of Elikim. That's what one can reach from the world, only to nature. The Chizboninus in Yono, when a person reflects on the matters of the world, you can reach the knowledge and the recognition as Yesh Mani Lebirazu. There is a one who leads this palace. There is somebody in charge, but you cannot reach higher than Shem Elikim, aber nit zum Shem Havaya, but not to the name Hashem Vasis Hechet from Welt, which is higher than the world. So there is a limitation, there is a separation, and you can only come to the Shem Elikim, not Shem Havaya. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't see sometimes the influence of the Shem Havaya, but it still remains separate, as the Rebbe is brought down constantly in the Mashal. There is a connection, but it's not that it comes to the other place. Although there is the revelation of the name of Havaya in the world, by the miracles that take place from time to time, from deswegen ist das nicht shaykh zu Welt Gufa. So yet that is not related to the world itself. On the contrary, this is an inyan from Shidud HaTeva V'Olam. This is something which denies the nature and the world, that you breaks it, it goes against everyone. So it's not like the miracle or the Shem Havaya, the Nisim, are accepted in the world. They force the world in a way that the world is not. So that means that they're separate. What Chassidus Chassidus accomplished as in Welt Gufa soll sein der Gilu Elikus was his Hecher from Welt. That in the world itself there should be a revelation of godliness which is higher in the world. Was der Far is Chassidus Mevayer. That's why Chassidus explains also in the human intellectual understanding with Misholim v'chuluf and Yonam Ha'olam. It uses examples, it uses worldly matters. This Welt is miyuchad mit neireliki was is hecher from Welt, as the way the world is united with the godly light that's higher than the world. So here we see that also in the world we have this union that takes place through the Yutas Kislev, that we have the Shem Havaya come into the Shem Elikim through Chassidus, and which is accomplished by Yutas Kislev. Ois Zayin, the Rebbe explains now, based upon there's basically these 3 points. There is Nigla, Nister, and how Nigla unites with Nister. The Rebbe is going to explain. We have the Shem Elikim, and we have the Shem Havaya, the natural, the Slavish B'Teva. We have Nisim, and then we have the way Nisim come down. In Nisim itself, we have the two levels, and they impact the others. That's why the lashon of the Alter Rebbe in the letter is not just Stam Nisim, but Hifli Lasis Boris, as the Rebbe will explain. Let's look inside. Zayim Yeshloimar, we can say as der Mit is Mavur was the Alter Rebbe schreibt in Zayin Bavustin Brief. With this that we explained before, it's explained this, that what the Alter Rebbe writes in the known letter, as the Geula for Yutas Kislev is given in an oifen, that the redemption of Yutas Kislev was in such a way fun Hifli Hashem. Hashem did wonders, v'higdil lasis, and he did big ba'aretz in the land. And the Rebbe explains this. In the Seder Anhoge with the Eibishter Fir the Welt, in the order of conduct, the way Hashem runs the world, there are 2 ways. Aleph Hanhoga Pitavo. Number 1, the conduct leading the world according to nature. In welchen sich nicht on the Goli der Chayes Eliki, in which you don't see openly the godly energy, life force. That conduct leading that way is from the name Elikim. Number 2, the other one is Ashgocha Protis Begoli, when you see divine providence openly. As in der Hanohogas Hateva is Niker, der Oir V'chayis Eliki, that in the natural conduct you can tell the light and the godly energy, und die Ashgocha Protis, and the divine providence, was the Anhoga Nemtzach Moshe Mavaya. That way leading the world comes from the name of Hashem, which tells us that in the nature you can tell the godly light in the Hashgocha Protis, the Shem Havaya, which is in the nature. And in that Anhoga V'Shem Havaya Gufa, and in this Anhoga V'Shem Havaya itself, there are various different ways. Aleph, in an Eufen from Kaviyochel Kotointi, Katnus, in a way of small, as the Hashgocha Protis verde herd in a Hanhoga B'derche Hateva, that the divine supervision is sensed and you hear it in a conduct within the ways of nature. You sense the Hashgocha Protis. But number 2, in an Eufen from godless, big way, Higdilchum. as the Alter Rebbe writes here. When those werder herten at plekten in Hoge, when it is sensed and revealed in a conduct, was his hecher from teva, which is higher than nature. You see, there's something big. Al derech maimer Chazal, similar to Chazal, say, dover godel. What is meaning made big? What is called big? Ma'aser merkava, the act of merkava. That means that it's called the bigger part. But even that, aber euch higdel, weist auf an Hoge, was hat an Erech v'sheiches zu der an Hoge from Katnus. When you say big, it still points to a relationship, and it's still connected to this level of Katnus. This is big and small. Big and small are related. It's in the same category, but bigger. Sometimes very big, much bigger. Sometimes very big. But that's not totally uncomparable to the conduct of nature. It's bigger within nature. And then you have the third law, Dan Hoge is an Eifon Fun Hifli. Hifli is in a wondrous way, because it's moved from Anhogas Hateva, it's separated from the Anhogas Hateva. So these are the Lashonis the Alter Rebbe used, as the Rebbe will explain now, the Lashon of Hifli Havaya, which is totally beyond. Higdil is within the Hashgacha Protis, and it's all Lasses Baris, as Rebbe explains. These three ways of conduct for Shem Havaya, of the name of Havaya, Zayin the drei sugim in Nisim. These are the three categories that we find in Nisim. Aleph, you have Nisim v'Zayin melubash in Darkei HaTeva. We have such miracles that are dressed up in nature. In other words, you don't even see that they're a miracle. There's miracles that openly, but there's miracles that are dressed in nature. And then there's still a miracle and totally have no connection to nature. Rebbe says like this: Nisim that are melubash darkei teva bisas is nit kemtikas is anes, cannot even tell that this is a miracle, such as videnes from Purim, such as the miracle of Purim. Everything seemed to line up. The king got angry, and the queen got a new queen, and then changed his mind. But Hagamdos is an hoge from Shem Havaya. But it is a conduct of the name of Havaya. It's a miraculous. Because you see divine providence. That means you see Havaya over there. You see divine providence. Everything was fit. Everything was orchestrated. Everything was there. Is das Oberin and Eifum from Kaviyachol Katmus Kanal. But then that is in such a way, so to speak, is the smaller. Then you have base number 2. Then we have the Nisim Geluyim, open Nisim. However, they're still connected to Teva. They still have a connection and a hold in nature. This is the way Yericho was conquered by Yehoshua. After the miracle, they circled first the Chaim and it fell down. That was a very clear miracle. But when they conquered it, it was a nes, was his nit given melubesh in Darkei HaTeva. It wasn't dressed up in the ways of nature. Is vayalom vayachrimu goimer lefi charev. So after the falling of the wall, which was not held in Tava, then later on, the people went and they destroyed lefi charev by the sword. So they used the sword, so it has an achiz in Tava. An achiz in Tava. Ubeprotius Yosef, and more specifically, we find the Melchemes Midyan. So on one hand, it says that get ready, have the people to the army. So there's an army, Vayitzbu, and they fought against Midian. So there was a war there. So that was nature. but zusammen damit, but yet together with that nature, there wasn't one person missing. How is that possible? That's beyond nature. So it had an achiza in teva, but it was lamaila. It was higher than nature. Nisim gluyim. A milchama was is nit kein tivedik. It's a milchama which is not a natural. The Rebbe brings a story. Derech hasipra yidua. There's a known story as Amolis zum alten Rebbe gekommen nach Heules. Once to the Alte Rebbe, someone sick came. Was alle Doktorim haben für ihn nicht gefunden in der Refuah. All the doctors did not find any medicine for him, any healing. They didn't find. But the Alte Rebbe gesagt, the Alte Rebbe said, as soll essen a halbe Shmura Matzah mit Wasser. You should eat a half a Shmura Matzah with water, and that is gesund geworden. He became healthy. The story is Astirim and Eubei. It seems like this is a contradictory. This is something doing, eating matzah, it impacts the sick person. It strengthens the health. So it has something connected directly to the health of the person. But on the other hand, what does matzah have to do with Bedarke and the nature? Shemura with water has no connection to healing for a sick person. But that the doctorim have already given up on. So how does that help? Nor canal, but as before, the refu is given a inyan is hecher from teva. The healing was higher than nature. But in an oifun, it's in such a way from hoben anachiza in teva that it had a hold in nature. And then we have a gimel, which is nisim b'sov mafila nitkin achiza in teva, miracles that don't even have a hold in nature. Azevid in a tzochen nisi in an oifen v'yichizkiot gizok, the miraculous victory, as Chizkiah said, ani yoshen al mitosi, I'm going to sleep on my bed. Umbet menatzech will have to be successful, which means not even going to be war. He's not even going to do anything about it, and yet he's going to be successful. And the Rebbe explains that these Lashonis over here that we say is what the Alter Rebbe is hinting to in his letter after this freedom on Yutas Kislev. Test. Das ist euch der Diuk Haloshen Hifli Hashem V'higdil Lasis Ba'aretz. Der Gilui Eura Chasidus Yutas Kislev hat aufgetan. What the light of Chassidus revelation of Yutas Kislev accomplished, nit nor the ha'ora von Havaya Stam, not just the ray of just Havaya, in a neufung von Kavayachol Katnus Bedarke Ateva, in a way, in a small way, sort of within nature, und nit nor the minyan von Higdil, not only big, was hot ashayches zu Teva, it's big, but it's still connected to Teva, nor in a oifen von Hifli Havaya, it's wondrous, which is the Gamri Hecher from Teva, which is entirely higher than nature. And yet the Alter Rebbe concludes Lasois Ba'aretz. Le'idach, on the other hand, is the Alter Rebbe Messiah, Lasois Ba'aretz, to do this all in the land. While the Kavone und Tachlis from Teres HaChasidus, the intent and the purpose of the Hasidus teaching is to adopt them inyan from Hifli Havaya, to bring down this concept of the Hifli Havaya, the wonders of Havaya. That means that godly light which has no connection to nature, to bring it down in Eretz Gufa, in Eretz itself. How is this accomplishment of connecting the hidden and the revealed part of Torah? That is by bringing down the essence of Torah, which is higher than Sosim and the Galia together. That reaches into that higher level and allows for Sosim to come down in Galia. Yud says Yodua. It's known as the koyach zu mechaber zayin, Sosim and Galia shebetoira. How could we, the power to connect the hidden and the revealed part of Torah, chochas Torah lein tilt sein zwei bazunder chalokim. Torah itself divides them into two separate. This is the revealed, and this is Sosim. Und der Chelek von Primis HaTorah wird angerufen Sosim. And that part of Torah, it is called Sosim. Azalpi Torah is a snit galia. Torah says it's not open. So how do you connect them? Nimmt sich der Fun was der Alter Rebbe hat Mamshech given. That comes because the Alter Rebbe drew down etzem pnimius HaTorah, the essence of the inner of Torah. Because the differences between Galia and Sosim is in the Hispashtus HaTorah. When the Alter Rebbe brings down the etzem, he can combine both. The Chalkus, zwischen Sosim and Galia, the Torah, the separation between Sosim and Galia Torah is nor mitzad that his pashtus is only because the expansion from Torah. Was yet that Inyan is mugdar in Zayin Tzir, so every aspect is defined by their own shape. Aber mitzadem etzem from Torah, but the essence from the perspective, the essence of Torah, the etzem pnimis HaTorah, the essence of the pnimis HaTorah is nitokin is chalkus nagdoras. There's no divisions and no definitions. That etzem from Torah is the atzmus. The essence of Torah is the essence. Hein from sosim and hein from galia Torah, both from the hidden and the revealed part of Torah. It's the same essence. The essence of Pnimius, the essence of galia, and the essence of sosim is the same essence. But the river can mitzadem ver and the chibur from sosim and galia. That's why we can have the connection of sosim and galia. When the Alter Rebbe is mamshel, the etzem HaTorah, it can be mamshel mechaber sosim and galia. Where we find an example for this in halacha. We find that there is differences in Torah, and yet we find that the Torah is really one and the same. In Torah is alpidin do according to halacha, there is such a thing, a light mitzvah amongst light mitzvahs, and then there's a serious mitzvahs amongst serious mitzvahs. So it could be there's a lot of extreme levels of mitzvahs. And yet, their meat is absigdim butter, and yet, along with that, there is a very clear ruling. If a person says Torah is not from Hashem, even if it's only one pasuk, even if it's only just one word. If the person would say Moshe said it on his own, then he's denying the Torah. Same thing, one who denies the commentary, the interpretation of Torah, whether it and makes no difference without difference which word or which letter, any word of Torah, you're a kofer. That means that the essence of Torah is the same in any. One could be kalav shebekalam or chamur shebechamur, and yet in the essence they're all me'im Hashem, and you can't even deny one letter. Derech zeh Yud Aleph is asur by Yid, the same thing is by Yid. To now see if Daled Hey. As Yutas Kislev hat aufgetan dem Ichut von Sasim v'Galia Shem Nishmosa. We said before that Yutas Kislev accomplished by a Yid is hidden and revealed of the soul. Durch Gilui Torahs HaChasidus. When the revelation of Torahs HaChasidus was hat aufgetan the Hamshocha von Etzem Pnimius HaTorah, which accomplished to bringing down the essence of the Pnimius HaTorah, is nimshach geworden. Same thing happened to the soul. The Gilui von Etzem HaNeshama b'chines Yechida also extended the revelation of the essence of the soul, the level of Yechida. Und der Riber hat das aufgetan. That's why it accomplished the Mechibur von Sasim v'Gilui Shem to connect the hidden and the revealed of the Neshama, that the Meichin, that the Amunah, Kabbalah soil should impact and be part together with the Galia of the Nishmasa in the power of his intellect and his heart. Ubavoida, mean the Amunah of the Kabbalah soil, sollen durchnehmen die Koiches happening von dem Odom. That belief and accepting the yoke should penetrate the inner parts of the person. But the Gilui von Etzem HaNeshama, because when you reveal the essence of the soul, is the Gilui HaEtzem Oich von alle Koiches Odom. It reveals all, and that's why it also takes through, penetrates, and it goes through all the powers in the neshama. Because the essence is the same essence for the revealed and for the hidden, just like by Torah, the same essence of Torah is the essence of both the revealed and the hidden Torah. And also with regards to Rebbe brought down, generally, the Jewish people as a whole, as by each individual, and Azoyech Benegeya, Klolos Yisrael. Those was Yutis Kislev gegeben them koyach. This that Yutis Kislev gave the power as Rosh Alpha Yisrael, Zolstein Begilui Bekiruf, that the Rosh Alpha Yisrael, the heads of the Jewish community, should stay openly in a close way, noch mer bisachdus, and more than close, being united with all Yidden, with all Yidden. He says the far is because Valdemult is Nimshach geworden, because that time it extended the Gili from China Yechidas HaKlolis from Klolos Yisrael, the revelation from general Yechida of the Jewish people as a whole was mitzad them. From that perspective of the Yechida HaKlolis is their kishur from their koim achas leima. There is the tie from this whole one story from Eden, bizan oifim from Yochid. It's all together in a way of Yochid, everybody together because of the revelation of that inner level, that the Yechida of the HaKlolis. Now we also have the same thing in the world. All the points that ever went through before, the Neshama, the Torah, the Yid, the Neshama Pratis, the Neshama Klolis, and now in the world. In Welt, Kinal Sivov. As we said earlier, Sivov. But Sad Oiris Vigiluyim, that from the perspective of the lights, can it sein Vigilui the Chibur from Welt, mit Oir Elikisha Lamaila Min Oilamis, cannot connect the world with a godly light which is higher than the world. For Vibald it is Mugder in Geder Oir Vahagilui. Because Oiris Giluyim are defined by light and revelation. Can nit nizgale werden in Oilam Meloshin Helam. So that light, the Goli, cannot come down into the world. Only specifically when we talk about Atzmus, what said is Amitis Amitzias. He's not defined by revelation, but he's the true existence. When he's Noisakul, he carries everything. Ken Zayin the Mitzias for Nayesh. There could be the existence of an entity, and yet, so the Yesh Guf Zayin Miyuchad mit Neibers Mitachas Ayichad, and still that Yesh should be entirely united with Hashem himself. So you can have both. That's because of the special revelation of Atzmus. Atzmus can come down in world because Atzmus is not defined by Giluyim. Giluyim are defined by Giluyim. They cannot come down in a world which is defined, which is a Yesh. Yud Gimel, Yud Beis. The Oiftu for your Futzumai Nesecha Chutza as der Etzem Mayin Zol Nisachet Better mit Chutza. This novelty, accomplishment that your Futzumai Nesecha Chutza, the well springs, should go to the outside. As der Etzem, we want the Mayin itself. So Nisachet Better mit Chutza should be united with the outside. This expresses itself specifically when the Mayones kuman on in Azach Chutza, when these well springs reach such a level of outside, to use the language of my father-in-law, nit in the mokim hamuksha, not in the fitting place. Those was the Mayones cannot durchnehmen euch Azach Chutza. The fact that these well springs can penetrate also such an outside, which on its own is not a vessel. It's not even a proper place to the Mayonas, for the well springs. Is as nor to the that is only because of the revelation of the essence from the Mayonas of these well springs. Because they are the essence of godliness. And the true existence is that etzem v'amitis amitzias from al negroim. Then that is the essence and the true existence of all creations. Und der Riber nimmt es durch euch od dem Chutza. And that's why, because that's the true existence, he can also penetrate and take through also that outside. Was mitzad atzmi is a nitkin mokum moksher. On his own, he's not a fitting place. And yet, he can be there as well. Because the essence of a lokus is the essence of every existence. And therefore, he can be there as well. And das is der kesher zwischen the zwei hasbores gilu teres hachasidus and teres achrein. And this is the tie, the combination between, the connection between the two explanations why teres hachasidus was revealed in the later generation. Aleph mitzadam koidel hachoshech from the teres, because number one, on one hand, because the great darkness of this generation, and base is atima from the Gilur loss, and the second reason, it's really tasting of the revelations of the future. So the Gilur von Etzem Pnimis HaTorah drikt sich is the revelation of the essence of the inner of Torah expresses itself in them was erken balaichten, the fact that he's able to illuminate euch dem choshech from Teres Achronim, that he can illuminate the darkness of these later generations. These mahapich sein euch od dem choshech la'or, to the extent to turn around also that darkness to light. And their mit gufa is move on. So now we understand that the tasting of the teaching of Mashiach in Erev Shabbos Lachatzois and Erev Shabbos Lachatzois, which is now in the Ichus of the Mashiach, is verbunden davke mit dem Zman, when sie is very größer der Chosh Chagolus, with the time in which is greater the darkness of the exile. Bis zum Choshech Kofel und Mechupel von Dora Dikus the Mashiach to this doubled and quadruple darkness of the generation of the hills of Mashiach. While davke in them drikt sich ois der koyach atzmi b'derech tiva, because specifically in this expresses itself the power, the atzmisdike power, in a way of te'ima, not fully, because that will be when Mashiach will come. But now we have a te'ima from teroso shel Mashiach. In the darkness, in Ikvas of the Mashiach, in the Cheshach couple, that's where you express and you see the Koyach Atzmi for the Rosh Mashiach, Etzem Pnim Zatorah. How to durchleichten dem größten Cheshach, that it can even shine through the greatest of darkness. Bis as a Cheshach Atzmi Yoyer, until the light, darkness itself starts to shine. As the Pasuk says, V'laylo kayoyim Yoyer, the night will shine like the day. In Gimel, Apikol Anal is moving the kesher. Based on the above, we also understand the connection zwischen the zwei Perushim in Vayivoser Yaakov Levate, between the two interpretation of Yosef Yaakov Levate. Aleph Lechade, meaning the jug, very little, Derech V'Niska, or the second way, V'Nizga Hashem Levade, and Hashem will be exalted all by himself. Davki in the birur from the Pachim Ketanim, it is specifically in the sorting out of these small jugs, the birurim hayeser ketanim v'tachtonim, the sorting out of the smallest and the lowest, tachlis hachoshech v'helm v'ester, the ultimate darkness and the blockage and the obscurity is nikir v'nirgesh. Over there you can recognize and feel them toichen unekudus ha'inyan, the content and the point of the matter. And v'niskav Hashem levad, Hashem is all by himself great. Amitis achdusa shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the true unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu levadehu, that he alone is he, shemetzad atzmusis Baruch Hu, which is from his essence blessed. As the Metzias Hayesh is nitkein stira to achdusa shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The fact that there is an entity of a yesh, it doesn't contradict the unity of Hashem. Varum atzad atzmusa yizborech, because from the perspective of Hashem's essence, is blessed is the atzmus hametzias from Yesh HaNivra. The essence of the existence of the Yesh HaNivra is their Yesh HaMiti. That is the true Yesh. And this is Mesichas Shabbos Parshat Vayishlach Tovshin Chav Zayin and Yutas Kislev Tovshin Yud Aleph and Tovshin Chav Hey. Some heavy Chassidus thought a lot to think about, but for now, this is what we studied.